The reality we live in can be a very strange place. Most of the time, fact being stranger than fiction. How will we ever start to understand this reality we live in unless we question everything? Join me and a guest as we unravel the mysteries of this reality, one topic at a time. This is Inquiries of Our Reality with Shayn Jones.
Reality isn't what it seems. Abductees taking aboard a craft with a tractor beam. Is life a simulation or an astral dream? Aliens travel through black holes in different galaxies. Life is a bizarre odyssey with a mic talking about philosophy. Well, Bigfoot is stalking campers as a Wendigo walks through the woods of sharpened antlers, using a Ouija board to talk to the dead like a necromancer. There's so many questions and not enough answers. So if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities, tune in and listen to Inquiries of Our Reality. So if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities, tune in and listen to Inquiries of Our Reality.
What is up, Inquirers, and welcome to the expanse of deep, open-minded conversation. I'm the one they call Shayn, and tonight's guest brings the heat, as he usually does, bringing some of the most fascinating encounters / investigating stories that I've ever had on the show. So, of course, this is a guy I regularly got to have on, and tonight is no different from usual. He definitely brings the heat on this one, and I'm really looking forward to you guys hearing about this experience. Before we get into the show, of course, though, got to do some news and updates and things. First and foremost, I apologize in advance for my voice. I recently had lost my voice, and it's just now starting to come back. So if you're wondering why my voice is off right now, and will be off for the episode itself, that is the reason why. Moving into part 2 of news and updates, it seems that the show has taken a pretty big hit as far as Patreon subscribers go, and I'm trying to help to expand the show to make it so that it kind of is able to hold itself up, so to speak, as far as finance-wise and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like since the support's been going down a bit, I got to try to boost it up as much as I possibly can. And I'm hoping that you guys can do something out there to be able to give the show a little bit more support, whether it's through leaving reviews and stuff, sharing episodes, or if you're possibly interested in joining the Patreon or checking out some of the stuff that's available on the Open Minds Media merch store. I got to try to figure out a way to make it so the show can be a little bit more sustainable. Otherwise, I might have to cut back on episodes that get released every week, which I'd absolutely hate to do to you guys. So if you guys have been enjoying the show since the beginning and you guys want the show to stick around in the capacity that it does, any support you guys can give would be greatly appreciated. And as far as like the Patreon goes, I'm trying to still kind of work it out and figure out exactly what you guys want. Always looking for opinions over there. So if anybody has any opinions on how the Patreon can be improved to give you guys more of what you want, I'm all ears and I would absolutely love to hear about it. So don't hesitate to shoot me a message. Let me know what you guys think. And again, support the show in any possible way that you can. And in turn, by supporting the show, of course, too, I am releasing a bunch of new t-shirts, hopefully, onto the OMM merch store. I posted a couple of the rough drafts on Instagram recently, so if you guys want to go and check those out, and make sure you guys keep your eyes peeled because there will be a lot of new designs being added to the merch store. Again, trying to boost it up to get a little bit more support for the show. And moving into the last piece of update before we get into the front of house, the next event that I will be at is Squonkapalooza 2, and that's going to be happening August 10th in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. It's going to be at the Central Park, so it is free admission for everybody, of course, and I will be speaking that day, and I got my time slot moved. I was the last speaker that day. Now I'm going to be around noon, so if anybody's interested in coming here and me speak, I will be doing a presentation on cryptids and folklore of Pennsylvania. You guys can always come out and see me there. It'd be a lot of fun. It'd be really cool to be able to meet and see some of you guys there. And I should have a booth somewhat close to this stage too. So if you guys listen to me speak and then you guys want to talk and hang out after or before, I should be around that area. But really looking forward to that event. There is more information for that down in the show description. So if anybody's interested in coming, make sure you guys mark it on your calendars and get everything all set up so you guys will be able to come. And moving into front of house, if anyone has an encounter that they would like to report, you guys can report those to ommencounterreports at outlook.com. I'd love to collect as much of that as possible, whether it's a small encounter or a really big encounter. I want to hear about it regardless. And depending on what you want to do with the encounter, I could possibly have you as a guest on the show to talk about it. I could read it in the beginning of the show and get some other people's thoughts and opinions on it. I can just give you my opinion on it. We can keep it completely between us and not have it published anywhere, which again is totally okay. You just got to let me know. or 4, maybe I can even possibly come out and investigate it. But none of that will happen, of course, unless you guys report those encounters to ommencounterreports at outlook.com. And if you guys enjoyed this show, please don't forget to check out my other podcast, Bizarre Encounters with Shayn Orin. Over there, we dive into a lot of the same topics on this show, but we do it from the deep dive perspective with all of our own research. Do have some guests sprinkled in the middle, but I'm sure you guys have heard the show by now. If you guys are listening to Inquiries, I'm sure you've at least checked out one episode. But of course, I got to throw that out there for anybody that is a new listener and hasn't actually checked out that show. And from there, you guys can also check out our YouTube/Patreon exclusive show, Bizarre Inquiries, where we take in listener questions and let our minds wander from there. So if anybody has any questions that they would like to submit for that, we are taking in as many questions as possible so we can hit some future episodes. Bizarre Encounters is back after a 3-week hiatus, so we will be diving back into Bizarre Inquiries as soon as we get a little bit more inquiries to inquire about, of course. And if anybody wants to support the show, you guys can do so through the Open Minds Media Patreon. Over there, you'll get Inquiries and Bizarre Encounters and a bunch of other really, really cool stuff and a few other side shows that I am in the process of working on, just trying to finalize right now. And there is a 7-day free trial for at least 2 of the tiers. So definitely worth checking out, see what it's all about, see if you guys enjoy being a member of the Patreon. And number 2, you guys can go and check out the Open Minds Media merch store. Over there, got a bunch of new stuff that'll be coming up. I am trying to drop designs regularly, trying to expand and make it so that there is a little bit more support for the show. So if you guys don't mind going and checking out those t-shirts, seeing if there's anything that you guys like, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you guys want to get 10% off at checkout, you guys can use code Cryptid10 for 10% off. And the last way you guys can support the show is by leaving a review or rating for the show on iTunes or Spotify. It's been a hot minute since I've gotten one of those that I can read on the show. I definitely see all the ratings and reviews left on Spotify, but of course over there you can't leave out a typed out message. So if you guys could boost up the iTunes end and I can give you guys a big shout out on the show, I would greatly appreciate it. And in the process of that, it will boost up the show in the algorithm and make it so that more listeners will come over to the show. And from there, of course, I can get some more awesome guests and experiences to talk about on the show. And if you want to stay up to date on the show, you guys can check out Inquiries of Our Reality and Open Minds Media on Instagram, Facebook, Discord, YouTube, and TikTok. And every single thing that I mention is all available in the link tree, which is available down in the show description. And with that, let's get into the show. Please welcome back to the show, Alfred Santariga. How's it going today, man?
Hey, Shayn. It's going absolutely awesome, brother. Thank you for having me. Been a long time coming. We've been fighting each other to get to the schedule, but we finally got it figured out. And I'm excited to be here and excited to tell you about my last 2 experiences out in the woods, squatching.
Oh, man, I'm really looking forward to it. We were talking about it a little bit before the show started. And anytime you come on, man, you always bring the heat with all the stories because you have so many experiences and so many different pathways of investigation that you do that you always bring something awesome to the table. So, man, I've been looking forward to this one for a long time because I figured it's been so long now, man. You probably have like chapters on stuff that you've gone through in the past, 6 months or so at least?
Yeah, I've done at least, I would say just off the top of my head, not even really thinking about it, maybe 5 investigations since the last time we talked. Yeah.
Man, so I guess before we can get into it completely, for anybody that's a new listener, hasn't heard any of your previous episodes, which I'm absolutely shocked if they haven't, and they should definitely go back and listen to them. But for anybody that doesn't know who you are, why don't you give them just a brief introduction about who you are and what you do?
Okay, my name's Al Santariga, paranormal investigator. My mom was a psychic. My brother was the first parapsychologist in the United States. I'm the founder of the Bronxville Paranormal Society, director of the New York State Sasquatch Organization, director of the New York State UFO Project, director of the New York State Dogman Project, and Region 3 director of the North American Dogman Project, along with MUFON member New York State chapter.
Man, you got so many titles, it's not even funny. This is what I was talking about, man. When we get into the investigations, you cover so many different fields that you always just got something new to bring to the table, man.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the stuff we're going to talk about tonight, not in my wildest imagination could I have ever dreamed any of this stuff up. my imagination is not not that bright, and I'm telling you, this stuff is so off the charts. It's mind boggling.
Well, I guess
I was just driven to get out there both nights. So,
well, I guess without any further ado, man, let's hop right into these experiences, stories, encounters, whatever you want to call them. And depending on how long it runs, we might even split this into a part 1 and a part 2. So just a heads up to the listeners, because you said you had so much stuff happen on both nights that you could easily make it a separate episode for each of them. So,
yes, oh, absolutely, yeah. It's just, I mean, I'm assuming you're going to ask questions here and there, and you know what I mean, and because there's just so much crazy stuff that happened. I would ask questions if I was on your end, but all right. So the first night I wanted to go out. It was October, Friday the 13th. There was a solar eclipse, and there was 1% of the moon. And I wanted to go out. I got a location. It's called the Sacred Site. It's a Bigfoot location.
The one mentioned in the previous episodes, right? Just to clarify for anybody that may have heard the previous ones.
But when I usually talk about anything, it's always a sacred site. Now, before I went to the sacred site, I had a premonition, or I had a visitation, mental telepathy through a dream with a white Sasquatch. His name was Alaric. He told me he was she was a shaman and king. He was a king shaman, and he was an elder, and he told me that I needed to go to the sacred site and sage it and bound it. He said, you have to go sage and bound. I don't know why, but this is what he told me. So I went there before the Friday the 13th. I went there and I saged it, and it was very weird. When I got up there, I was saging. I actually called a buddy of mine, Chris Reinhardt, from Discover Sasquatch. Chris has been there, and Chris has had experiences there as well. And I called Chris and I said, yeah, Alaric told me to come and sage and bound the site. I don't know why, but I'm here. And then all of a sudden I got hit with like some infrasound, and I was like sweating profusely, and I knew immediately what was going on. And I went behind a giant oak tree, and I got behind the oak tree, and I I poured some water over my head, and I caught my breath, and I caught a second wind. For some reason, something did not want me cleansing that site. Something did not want me bounding it. But once I caught my second wind, and Chris said, I'm going to stay on the phone in case something happens, because I'm the only other one who knows where this location is. And he said, I cleansed it. I bound it. I was fine. I left. That was the end of that. I don't know why I was told to do that. I never had to do it before, but I was told to do it, so I did it. Okay, now Friday the 13th rolls around, and I got a whole bunch of people that want to come with me. Neighbors, my cousin wants to come with me. My cousin, Sean, has never been on a paranormal investigation in his life, and he wants to become a member of the team. He wants to come out with me. And I was like, absolutely, young blood, I'll take it anytime, and so we're getting ready to go, and there's about 8 of us going, and at one by one, everybody started canceling out on me. And the closer we got to the investigation, and so I just went in with my cousin Sean. So what I usually do when I plan something, I don't tell my psychic anything. She'll start getting messages, and she'll call me, and she'll say, what are you doing, where you going? And then I'll tell her. So she called me, and she said, what's going on, and I told her, we were going to the sacred site on Friday the 13th, and it was going to be a solar eclipse and 1% of the moon, and I wanted to see how the energy was going to be there that night compared to the October 28th, where there's going to be a lunar eclipse and a full moon, And she's like, okay, I just want you to know the veil is going to be very thin that night, and things are going to come through. And she said to me, that she's seen something that she called a Bearsquatch. She goes, I've never seen anything like this before. It's definitely come from a different realm. She says it's about 10 feet tall. It has the body of a Bigfoot, but a head of a bear. She said, be careful around this thing. It's very dangerous. It doesn't know what humans are. So it's definitely going to come out and observe you. You're going to see this. And she's like, be careful. And I'm like, absolutely. Don't worry. We're at the sacred site. Never had anything bad happen to me there, you know? So then she says, okay, I'm also seeing what she says. They're showing me themselves as elves. She said, you're going to have contact with something. It's going to make itself known. They're showing me themselves as elves. She goes, but they're not elves. The energy is totally wrong. She says, they're trickster beings. And she said, be careful with them because they can do stuff to you, like pull your chair out from under you when you go to sit down, trip you when you're walking through the woods, you know. They're not going to attack you, but they can do stuff to injure you. So she said, be very careful with them. And I'm like, okay, no problem. So my cousin and I, we head out. We hike 4 miles into the woods. We get up to the sacred site. Now, I like to do a day and night thing. And it was funny, you know, like I didn't know my cousin was a sensitive. I had no idea about this, but I know his mother is, you know. And so we're walking through the woods and we're hiking up the Appalachian Trail and we're hiking along a 52-acre lake. And my cousin turns to me and he says, man, these woods are devoid of life. He goes, it's just like there's nothing here. You know, I can't believe we're 4 miles in and we haven't seen any animals. And she goes, not even in the lake. There's no ducks. There's no geese. There's no turtles. There's no frogs. There's no nothing. And I'm like, yeah, the place has got a really weird feel tonight. You know, it doesn't usually feel like this, but being, you know, all the solar events, the lunar events and everything, you know, I don't know. We're just going to take it and see what happens.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. And we are back. So let's hop right in.
So we get to the location and we set up our chairs and I call the psychic. And the psychic says, okay, your cousin is a sensitive and he's part Native American. So I look at him. I said, you're part Native American? And he says, yes, on my mother's side, which was news to me. So I said, okay, no problem. And then she says to me, now you got to understand, my psychic and I have been working together for over a dozen years and we argue like a married couple. Okay. And she says to me, you're part Native American too. And I start laughing hysterical. My cousin's laughing. I'm like, no, I'm 100% Italian. She's like, nope, I see Native American blood in you. And I'm like, nope, or I'm 100% Italian. And this argument goes on for about 10 minutes. And my cousin is laughing hysterically. And she goes, then why am I seeing Native American blood intermingling with your blood? And then the little light bulb went off on the top of my head. And I was like, holy crap. When I was 18 years old, 17, 18, there was a group of us at school. We called ourselves the Brotherhood. We were the original Motley Crew. Okay. Everybody was a different nationality. Polish, Jewish, Italian, Irish, German. Everybody was a different nationality. And one of the kids was half Apache. And we would always hang out at his house because his father was a doctor. He had a big house with a pool table. So one night we're all hanging out and he says, we should do the blood brother thing, you know, the Apache thing, you know? So we do it. And that's what my psychic seen, the blood intermingling with each other. And I had totally forgot about this. It's been so long. I mean, it's been, you know, decades. And I was like, holy crap, how did you see that, you know? And she's like, I told you, don't tell me when I see something I see. I was like, okay, I'm wrong. You're right. Absolutely. No problem. So we're sitting there and let's see, where am I? Psychic, blood. Okay, yeah. So I set up, what I usually do is I set up a bunch of glow sticks in front of me and who's ever with me for ambient light, okay? And the glow sticks I like to use for ambient light are orange glow sticks. And then what I do is I'll take different colored glow sticks and I'll put them around the circle because the sacred site is a giant circle with megalithic stones and everything. And I'll put different colored glow sticks around the circle. And what I'll do is I'll put Like to the east, I'll put an EMF meter, and to the west, I'll put an EMF meter, and to the north, I'll put a digital voice recorder, and to the south, I'll put a digital voice recorder, you know? So I got these things set up, and we're sitting there, and we're talking. My cousin and I are talking, and he does this. He goes, "Can I do a Bigfoot howl?" I said, "Absolutely. Do whatever you want, cuz." You know, and he does this incredible Bigfoot scream. Just blew my socks off, right? And 2 minutes later, we get a scream from the east side of the woods, on the other side of the lake. Massive scream. And, you know, we're like, "Oh, wow, this is amazing." And I'm thinking, the east side of the lake is usually the Dogman side of the lake. Why is the Bigfoot there? But we got the digital voice recorder going behind us. You know, we're all psyched up. And this thing starts running north up the woods. And hand to God, in 3 seconds, it must have moved a mile, and it screamed again. And then it did it again, another 3 seconds, another mile, and it screamed again. And my cousin's like just bouncing off the walls. He can't believe he's actually hearing a Sasquatch screaming, you know? And so we're going, that's pretty cool. So then we're sitting there, and a helicopter comes over us. Now there's an opening in the tree canopy, and there's a helicopter over us. So you can hear the percussion of the blades. Boop, 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 boop. You can see all the leaf litter being, thrown around, but we can't see it. It's invisible. It's daytime, and we can't see it. And my cousin's like, "There's a helicopter above us, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "How come we can't see it?" I was like, "Dude, I have no idea, but we can't see it." So we're trying, and then it goes away. It's like, okay. And then we hear from about 3 miles away, we hear a train whistle go off. So my cousin says, "Is there train tracks around here?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "So the train runs on the tracks?" I go, "No." He goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, "There's a location off those tracks that I want to investigate, but the only way to get there is on the tracks." So I went to the state troopers barracks that's there, and I filed a complaint saying my son rides the bus and there's no safety arms over this train track, and I don't want to make sure my kid doesn't get killed going over the train tracks, you know? And the cop is laughing at me. He's hysterical. He says, "Dude, there hasn't been a train on that track in 30 years. Because the train does not run on that." So now I know I could use those tracks to go investigate the next location. But I also know that the train doesn't run. But we heard a train. Clear as day. Woo, woo, we heard a train. Train goes by once. It goes by twice. It goes by 3 different times this night. And we're laughing hysterical because we can't believe that there's every hour a train goes by on the tracks that nothing runs on. And I'm telling them, it's a ghost train. This is a ghost train. That's what we're hearing.
I was thinking that, or maybe a Sasquatch mimicking the sound of a train that it might have heard. If it was that same one that was howling out in the woods.
You know what? The thought never crossed my mind. That's a good point.
Especially if it was on point every hour too. I mean, it seems like they kind of are very routine creatures from what most have observed.
It's funny you point that out to me, because I was just talking to a friend of mine who swore he heard somebody revving a motorcycle in the woods. And I go, "Are you sure it was a motorcycle and not a Sasquatch mimicking one?" And I can't believe I didn't think about the Sasquatch and the train thing. I pointed it out to him, but wasn't sharp enough to point it out to myself, you know? But anyway, we hear this train go by 3 times. So it's getting dark now, and the helicopter goes by. We hear the whoops. Let's see, the ghost train goes by. So we're sitting there, and I break out my instruments. Now, I'm at the point in my life where I don't care about video or audio, any of that stuff. I got it all. I got a full spectrum camera going. I got a thermal camera going. I got an IR camera going, pointing in different directions. But I don't really care about catching any images. I'm more into environmental readings, how whatever comes into the environment changes the readings. And I do 250 environmental readings. And I do this about 4 or 5 times during the course of the night, right? I'll get there, I'll do a baseline and see what all the instruments are reading, right? It's so we get there and I do the baseline and all of the instruments are flatlining. There's no reading. And I'm telling my cousin, this is impossible. There's tons of energy in nature, I mean, I know the sacred site has got underground aquifers. I know there's quartz crystal veins here. I notice that there's a ley line that runs through it. This place, the energy is through the roof. Yet I can't get a reading on anything. So he looks at me and I look at him and he's like, dude, I feel like we're in a dome. And it was crazy because before he said it, I was thinking it. I was thinking, man, I feel like we're in a dome and nothing is getting through. I can't get out and nothing is. And then I thought it and he said it, which blew my mind. So we're like, this place is devoid of life. There's nothing here. It's unbelievable. There's no crickets. There's no tree frogs. There's no skunks, raccoons, possums. There's no animals whatsoever. And we're just freaking out. So we call the psychic. And the psychic says, oh my God, she says, it feels like you're in a dome and the woods are devoid of life. And we start laughing because we just had this conversation, And so the psychic goes on to tell us, yes, you guys are looking out into a black abyss. All we see is darkness around us, right? And so even though we gone out, we set up the glow sticks and everything, I can't find any of the glow sticks on any of my cameras. For some reason, the cameras aren't picking them up. And I'm like, I don't understand. Why aren't the cameras picking them up? I can't see any. And I got like a green one, a yellow one, a blue one, a purple one, a pink one. I got all these different colored glow sticks. And the camera's not picking any of them up. None of my cameras were picking any of them up. And we're sitting there. And then all of a sudden, the glow sticks start moving. They're going up. They're going down. They're going left. They're going right. They're doing figure eights. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And I turned to my cousin and I says, tell me what the pink glow stick is doing. I want to make sure we're seeing the same thing. And he says, it's doing figure eights. I said, okay, let's go over and see what's moving the pink glow stick. Now, I know where I put these glow sticks, and I'm thinking if something picked them up, to put them back exactly where I put them was going to be pretty tough. We walk over to the glow sticks, and as the closer we get to them, they stop moving. We get right on top of them. We put our headlamps on, and they're in the same exact location that I put them in. And my cousin's like, how is that possible? I don't know. And this is happening all around us. All the glow sticks are moving. I mean, it's just insane. We got up like 5 different times and walked over to 5 different sticks at 5 different locations. And every time we got there, we turn our headlamps on. The glow sticks are right where I left them.
Sounds like tricksters to me.
Right. So that's what the psychic was telling us. The tricksters are going to show themselves. And that was their way of showing themselves by moving the glow sticks. What I couldn't understand was why my camera couldn't film them. I had 3 high-end cameras, and none of them could see him, and none of them could film him. My cousin pulls out his cell phone, and he films him. He gets he gets one of them, the closest one to him, which I think was like a pink one or a purple one or something. He actually films it on his cell phone. And I'm like, this is mind-boggling that a cell phone is picking this up, but my equipment can't even see it. You know what I mean?
Usually it's the opposite way around.
I just don't understand how this is happening. It's got me baffled. So then I like to do different rituals to change the energy. And when I change the energy, usually whenever I change the energy, something comes in. You know, it's not always the same thing, and you never know what you're going to get. So I do a Native American shaman ritual. This is the shaman ritual. And I do that. I check all my readings, 250 readings, nothing. Flat line. Okay. Put that away. I do my frequency ritual. Different kind of frequencies for different things. These rituals always work. They always bring something in. Break out my meters, check all my readings, flat line, nothing. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But then I break out I have different incense for different things. And I light 3 different incense, and each one is for a different entity. And I light these incense, and I fill the woods with this aroma and break out my instruments. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I don't know what the hell is going on. I've never experienced this in my life. My cousin doesn't know what the hell is going on. At one point, he reaches over to me and he says, "What's up?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You just tapped me on the shoulder. What's up?" I go, "No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me who tapped you. It must have been one of the tricksters, you know?" So then, let's see where I'm at.
We will be right back after this brief commercial break, so stay tuned. And we are back, so let's hop right in.
Okay, so we're sitting there. We're sitting there looking into the abyss, this darkness. And I'm looking at this yellow glow stick that's at the base of the Western Ridge. Now, the Western Ridge is usually where the Sasquatches come down from. Their home range is on the other side of the ridge. And when I'm there, they usually come in to see who's there. They know when I'm coming, and they usually come in to see me. So I'm sitting there, and we've been there a bunch of hours. And no, at one point, this point, the helicopter comes back. Pitch black. The helicopter comes back. Again, we're looking up. Now, we have these very powerful headlamps on. They go from floods to spot. They go 700 feet. These are really serious headlamps, right? And the helicopter comes back. And again, you hear the percussion of the blade. You feel the leaf litter flying around. We put our headlamps on and we look up, and there's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there. We can't see anything. And I was like, listen, I don't know if the government has the kind of clothing technology that it can make a helicopter disappear right in front of your eyes. But I know what I'm hearing. I know what I'm feeling. I know what I'm sensing. There's absolutely a helicopter above us, you know? And he agrees with me 100%. Then the helicopter flies off. Okay. So we're sitting there and we're just waiting to see what's coming next. And I don't know if it was the energy of the location or what it was, but I'm looking straight ahead. And I'm seeing 3 yellow glow sticks. And for the first 5 or 10 minutes, it doesn't dawn on me. I'm saying there's something wrong. I'm looking at something that shouldn't be there. There's something wrong with this image. But I couldn't figure out what's wrong with the image. And then the little voice says, "Stupid, you only put 1 yellow glow stick out over there. Now there's 3. So it dawns on me that there's 3 yellow glow sticks where I put 1. So I tapped my cousin Shawn. I said, lean over. How many glow sticks you see over there? Because I see 3. I go, how many came in the multicolor pack? He said, only 1. I said, so why is there 3 yellow glow sticks looking at us? He goes, I don't know. I said, well, let's go see what it is. Let's go see why we see 3. So we get up and we start to walk towards it. And we get about 50 feet away from base camp. And we're still about a good 50 feet away from it when 2 of the yellow glow sticks blink. And I grab my cousin, I stop him dead. I go, whoa, stop right here. And it blinks again. And I go, Shawn, put your headlamp on flood. And I'm going to put mine on flood because I want to light up as much area as we can, you know? And we put our flood lamps on. And there's this Bearsquatch thing that I actually thought it may have been a gugway, but I've never heard of a gugway in the Northeast. And it's crouched down behind the bushes next to the yellow glow stick, and it starts to stand up, and it's going, and it's going, and it's going. And this thing is about 10 feet tall, 1,500 pounds. It's a tank. And my cousin's looking at it, and his mouth is wide open. His eyes are bugging out. And I'm like, oh, my God, I think we're going to die, you know? And because the psychic said, we're going to see this thing. And it doesn't know what humans are. And it's dangerous. And we should not approach it. But we didn't know what we were approaching, you know? It sees us. It looks down at us. We're looking at it. And it turns and it runs north up the woods. And at the far end of the sacred site, there's a 4-foot stone wall, jumps over the stone wall, and it just takes down trees like a bulldozer. Boom, 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 boom. And he looks at me and I look at him and he's like, we got to call the psychic, you know? So we call Cindy and we say, we just seen your Bearsquatch. And she's like, what do you mean you just seen the Bearsquatch? I said, we walked up on it and it stood up. And she's like, why did you walk up on it? Didn't I tell you this thing was dangerous? And I was like, listen, we didn't know what it was. We just seen yellow eyes looking at us, you know? And we didn't even know they were yellow eyes. We thought they were glow sticks. And we explained ourselves. And she's like, I think you guys should leave. I think it's time for you guys to leave. So my cousin's ready to leave. You know, he's like, okay, we should leave. Okay, no problem. You want to leave? We'll leave. It's not a big deal to me. You want to leave? So we leave. So now we hike back down to the Appalachian Trail, which runs along the 52-acre lake. Okay. And as we're hiking the trail, we're both looking across the lake because there's a cliff face on the other side of the lake. And we're looking with our headlamps because these things, like I said, they shoot 700 feet. And we're looking at the cliff face and we don't see anything on the cliff face, but we both kind of feel that's where the initial Bigfoot scream came from, that cliff, you know? And to the right of us, there must have been a fire in the woods over the winter last year because it was all burnt out. So we had a clear cut in front of us so we could see, you know, there was nothing that we couldn't see, especially with our headlamps. And so we're walking along the lake, and all of a sudden, a stone hits the water, okay? And you hear this giant babush. We both turn to look, and the water goes up like 20 feet in the air, okay?
So it was like a boulder then, right?
Yeah, this thing must have been humongous. And we don't know where it came from. I'm thinking it's coming from the other side of the lake, but if it's coming from the other side of the lake, whatever threw it across a 52-acre lake. You know what I mean? And my cousin swears it's coming from our side of the lake, but we can see a mile up the mountain. It's a clear cut from the fire. We don't see anything, And this water goes up. So my cousin goes, "What do you think it is?" And I said to him with the straightest face possible, I said, "It's probably just the beaver jumping off a rock and his tail hit the water and the water went up." And he's like, "How big is this beaver that the water goes up that high?" And I was like, "Well, we got pretty big beavers up here. You'd be surprised how big they are, And he's like, "Okay," like, he's not buying it, but I don't want to scare. He's, I'm at a point. He's behind me. I don't want him to be worried about getting grabbed from behind, I'm trying to keep him calm. I don't want to get him scared. Like I said, there was one point during the course of the evening where I felt his anxiety starting to rise through his body, and he was focused enough where he pushed it down and out. And I was so proud of him, and he just blew me away. And I knew right then and there that this kid can come out with me anywhere, that he's got that kind of ability to push his anxiety. Because usually when people get anxiety and they're in the woods, it hits them like a tidal wave and there's no stopping it. So then we're walking again, and we got a 4-mile hike out. It's a little long walk out, and the Appalachian Trail is like a goat trail. It's sketchy. The ground is wet from all the rain we had. The rocks are wet. It's dangerous. It's easy to go down and crack your head open, bust open your knee. So we're going slow. I'm telling him, "Shawn, let's just go slow and steady and get out. Let's get to the mining road. Once we get to the mining road, we'll be okay." As we're hiking along the trail, we hear it again. Baboosh. We turn and we look and we see the water go up like 20 feet in the air. And he's like, "Are you sure that's a goddamn beaver?" And I go, "Yeah, don't worry about it. It's just a beaver." And I'm looking up that mountain. I'm looking for a shadow. I'm looking for eye shine. I'm looking for anything. I cannot see anything that's throwing these huge, gigantic stones off the mountain and into. And when I tell you they're landing into the water, they're landing maybe 8 feet from the shore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And when something that big lands that close and the water goes up, you kind of get wet because there's a lot of water going up, And so we hike out. We get to the mining road. Now we're still a solid 3 miles from the main road. And once we get to the main road, we got another half a mile hike up the main road to the trailhead. So we're hiking out, and everything is going good. And we're discussing all the stuff that happened that night. And he's really excited because he heard the Sasquatch screams, and we seen this giant Bearsquatch thing. Like this is his first night ever investigating, and he can't believe that the Tricksters touched him, and we got the video of the glow sticks moving. I mean, it was just like, and yet the woods were devoid of life, and yet we were in this glass dome where nothing could get in as far as frequencies or energy, and nothing could get out. So we're hiking out, and I tell him, "Okay, look, we're going to get at the end of the mining road is a ranger station. It has an invisible eye. You walk past that invisible eye, bell rings in the station, the dogs start barking, the ranger's going to come out. By the time the ranger comes out, we're going to be underneath the sensor light, which is a floodlight, and he's going to come out with the dogs to talk to us." I said, "Let me do all the talking. I've bullshitted this guy for the last 10 years. You know what I mean? I know what to say to this guy." He says, "Okay." So we get to the end of the mining road, and I pull out a can of hairspray and I spray the invisible eye to show him where it is, He's like, "Oh, that's cool, I go, "Look, the light is on in the ranger station. The car is in front. The ranger is here." I said, "The ranger is always here." Always. So he said, "Okay." So I said, let's do this." So we walked through the invisible eye, and I stopped to listen because usually you'll hear the dogs go crazy. He's got 2 dogs. Usually it's 2 dogs, and they start barking, and we don't hear anything. Okay, we start walking. We walk past the sensor light, the big floodlight, and the floodlight doesn't come on. And we keep walking. We get out to the main road. We sit down on the guardrail, and we have a drink of water because we just walked 5 miles. And like 10 minutes later, the sensor light comes on. And we're standing on the main road looking at the light come on. And there's no animals running through, you know what I mean? Like, why did that light come on like 10 minutes later? And it was just the weirdest night ever. And we're sitting there looking at that light, and we're laughing hysterical. And the ranger never came out. It was like there was nobody home. We hike up to the car. We throw all the gear in the car. He says, let's check out the digital voice recorders. The activated voice recorder never went on. One that runs for 72 hours continuously. We go to turn it on, and it says error, file corrupted.
Of course.
And we got nothing. We didn't get any screams. We didn't get any helicopters. We didn't get any trains. We didn't get nothing. Absolutely nothing. And my cousin's like, how is that possible? And I was like, the only thing I can think of is when that helicopter came back the second time. It hit us with some kind of frequency that zapped that recorder. That's the only thing I can think of. Because we checked the recorder before we went. It was working fine, you know? But, and that was Friday the 13th. And like I said, there was a solar eclipse that night, and it was 1% of the moon. So it was so damn dark. There were no stars in the skies. It was a black ink sky. Man, it was dark in those woods that night. And that's the first experience, yeah.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. And we are back, so let's hop right in. Man, talk about one crazy night, especially considering that was that first time that he'd ever been out on an investigation. Like, he experienced some stuff that people like gone their whole life waiting to experience. And I mean,
and that's exactly what I told him. I said, dude, you experienced shit tonight that most people don't experience in a lifetime.
That almost makes me wonder, too, if the ranger station, there was something wrong with the light itself or it wasn't picking up on you guys. But maybe that thing that you guys saw in the woods, maybe it was following you guys out and it actually picked up on that thing and it was like 10 minutes off behind you guys.
Don't even tell me that. It just gave me goosebumps telling me that. Yeah, no. I didn't sense any. Something was throwing giant boulders at us, for sure. Okay, whether it was the Bearsquatch or just something else in the wood that wanted us out of there that night, I don't know. Probably was the Bearsquatch. It probably was, because I didn't see the size of the boulders, but I seen the size of the splashes. And when something goes up that big and it's that wide, like it's a giant splash. It's not just, a bowling ball will make a big splash, but if you throw something in the water that's 100 times the size of a bowling ball, the splash is humongous, I don't know. I honestly don't know. The psychic did say that thing was dangerous, but I don't know why it ran from us. You know what I mean? She did say it didn't know what we were. And that's why she thought it was dangerous, because she was afraid that because it didn't know what we were, it may attack, But instead, it turned and ran. Now, it could have come back, of course, and followed us out and was tracking us from the top of the mountain, But I don't know. I honestly don't know. That night was so crazy. My cousin was so amped up when we left that place. He was like, dude, I can't wait to come back again. Meanwhile, his father's telling me, whatever you do, don't put my son in harm's way. I'm like, I would never do that. Don't worry about it. I was like, look, I've been going to the sacred site for a dozen years. No one has ever been hurt there. No one has ever been injured there. That's why it's the sacred site, And it was just so crazy. I've never, if you go out into nature, just anywhere, go into go to the park in the middle of the woods, and you pull out any kind of meter, it's going to register something because there's energy flowing through the air all the time. You know what I mean? It's going to. So for all of my meters to flatline that night, and like I said, all of the rituals I do, man, they always change all the energy all the time. And it always brings something in. And each one brings something different. You know what I mean? Over the years. And I tried everything that night. And none of the meters, none of the instruments would register anything. It was just like we were in a dome, a void, whatever you want to call it. There was nothing coming in. And it was just mind-boggling. I just feel like, and I'm trying to explain this to my cousins. Like, you don't understand. There's energy all around us all the time. This is impossible not to register anything. I've never ever had this happen to me in all the years I've been messing with this stuff. Not to get any kind of readings on anything. It just doesn't. It's not humanly possible. It's just the way the earth is. The energy. And he was like, "Yeah, dude, I don't know what to tell you," but it was funny because I thought it, he said it, and it was like that the whole night. He must have been hearing my thoughts.
Man, just to throw in a couple theories and ideas on this too. Going into the Bearsquatch concept. First of all, you said that you'd heard something coming from the Dogman side of the lake. She was kind of just possibly just trying to relate this thing to whatever she thought best kind of described it. But I'm almost kind of curious if it's something that may have been more on the dog end side than the Sasquatch side. And maybe that would explain kind of the bear face to it and why you're hearing noises on that side of the lake that almost seem kind of like squatchy almost. And I mean, even extending on that too, you mentioned the fact that 1, it felt like a bubble. 2, it was Friday the 13th, and 3, that there was the eclipse. So if this was some type of sacred area before you were calling it the sacred area, which I'm sure that it was, and that's why it ended up becoming that area for you too. I mean, who knows what gateways, portals, whatever could actually open there at particular times a year, and you guys just happen to be there one of those nights, and that's why this thing's never seen anything. And depending on which way you kind of see the Dogman stuff, whether it's more spiritual or something more physical, I mean, if it is something more physical, maybe, again, it was something that was more related to a Dogman than a Sasquatch. But if you're kind of getting into the spiritual side of Dogman, that these things might come through from other realities, other places, maybe this was something that comes from that same place as the Dogman. And maybe the reason why the Dogman are so aggressive is because they come from a realm where there's just a lot of other aggressive beings and they have to defend themselves in order to stay alive. And you guys are experiencing something that came from that theoretical realm or reality, whatever you want to refer to it as.
Yeah, no, my psychic is Native American, and she knows what the Dogman is. You know what I mean? And she said it was something she first of all, she said she had never seen anything that looked like that before. And I've heard of the term Bearsquatch before, and it usually, to me, it means somebody seen a gugway. They tend to have the blocked head, and they have the Bigfoot body. So people kind of say it looks like a bear, you know what I mean? And that's what I was telling her. Is it a gugway? And I showed her pictures, and she said, "No, Al, I don't know." She goes, she's amazing picking up energies, and everything has an identify. You can identify everything through its energy, and an energy signature. That's what she calls it. Everything has an energy signature. And this thing's energy signature is something she's never experienced before, And she said definitely the portal was open. She said the veil was going to be thin. When she says the veil is thin, she basically means the portal's wide open. You know what I mean?
See, I'm kind of curious now if this thing is still there or if it was able to make it back into the portal, or 2, if when a portal closes, it pulls back everything that came from it. Because otherwise, that thing's still out there somewhere, and you might even have another experience with this thing in the future.
Well, I went back on the 28th.
Well, I guess that's a good segue in then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So on the 28th of October, let me get to my notes here. On the 28th of October, there was going to be a full moon instead of 1%, a full moon, and it was going to be a lunar eclipse instead of a solar eclipse. So again, I want to be there to experience the difference in the energies. Okay. So I tell my psychic, I said, I'm going back. She's like, don't go. And I said, no, I'm going back. And I said, I'm bringing, again, it always starts off with a half a dozen people that want to come. And then by the time it goes, it's usually just, 2-3 people. So I said, I got a half a dozen people coming with me and I'm going back. And she's like, nope. She goes, you're going to go in alone. And she goes, maybe if you're lucky, your cousin Sean will go with you. She goes, but you're going to go in alone and you're going to go in a way you've never gone in before. And again, now this is the marriage thing, right? Like, nope, I'm not going in alone. And I'm not taking a trail I've never been on. I always go in the same way all the time. She's like, nope. She's, you're going to start on a lower trail. It's going to go up a hill. It's going to fork. And instead of going up, you're going to go down. And she goes, well, you know what? I see a cousin with you at this point. But I'm telling you right now, she says, I don't want you going. It's too dangerous. And I'm like, no, I'm going. I don't care if I have to go alone. I'm going. But I'm not going on a trail that I've never been on. That's just not who I am. And she says, okay, Al, you do what you want to do. She goes, call me when you get to the sacred site. I'm like, okay. She goes, but let me tell you something. She goes, when you get to the fork in the road and you go down the hill, she goes, be prepared for what you're going to encounter. And I'm like, what am I going to encounter? And she says, the first thing you're going to encounter is a skinwalker. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of a skinwalker here in the Northeast. And she goes, I'm telling you, you're going to see a skinwalker. That's your first thing you're going to encounter. She goes, second thing you're going to encounter is a Wendigo. And I'm like, you're out of your effing mind. There's no way I'm going to encounter a skinwalker and a Wendigo in these woods. I've been in these woods a zillion times. I've never experienced anything other than, dogmen, Bigfoot, gnomes, fairies, and crap like that. But, and she's like, let me tell you something. She goes, when you take this trail, you better stay on the right trail. If you go off the right trail, you and your cousin are dead. She goes, I don't want you going. And I'm like, I'm going, but I'm not taking the trail you're telling me to take. I'm going the way I always go. And she's like, okay, whatever. Call me. Okay. So my cousin calls me and he says, first he said he couldn't make it. And I was like, okay, no big deal. I'm going alone. I'm going. You know what I mean? And I don't care if I have to go alone. I'm going. And then he calls me up and he says, dude, I'm getting out of work early. Pick me up at the store. I'll bring all my gear with me. I was like, okay, we'll go together, So I go to pick him up at the store. And of course, the store gets really busy just as he's supposed to punch out. And the boss tells him he's got to stay. And we get out of the store like an hour late, later than we're supposed to. And we're still a good, 40 minutes away, ride out to the main location. So we get out to the main location. We park at the trailhead. And he goes, and I said, okay, let's start walking down before it gets dark. Because if it starts to get like sundown, the ranger's not going to let us in because we can't be at the park at dark. So as we're walking down the road, again, it's a half a mile hike to the ranger station. It starts to get dark from the lunar eclipse. I'm like, oh shit, we're not going to make it. And I don't want to have to walk back up another half a mile and start on a different trail. So I start on a trail I've never been on. And we're hiking this trail that I've never been on. And we go up this mountain and we come to a fork where you could go up or down. And I decide to go down. And I'm thinking about everything Cindy said to me. Everything she said so far is coming true 100%. Now, I don't mention anything about a Skinwalker or a Wendigo to my cousin. Not going to say anything. I don't want to freak this kid out. This is his second investigation. So I'm laser focused on the trail that I'm on. I know she said, if I go off this trail, we're dead men. I got to pick the right trail. So we're hiking and we're doing fine. And there's like the markers on the trees for the trails. And, okay, let's go this way. Let's go that way. I know I have to go west to get to the mining road. Okay. So I'm heading west and we're walking. And my cousin says to me, yo, cuz, have you ever seen any skinwalkers on this trail? And I turned to him and I was like, why in God's name would you even say that? He says, because there's one following us and he's got red eyes. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He says, the skinwalker's been following us for about the last half a mile. And it's to our right and it's got red eyes. And I look back and I can see something that looks like a Native American shadow with red eyes. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And I'm like, okay, don't worry about it. Let's just stay on the trail and keep going. We're going. We get to a fork in the road and there's no markers on any of the trees. Do I go left? Do I go right? This is my big test. And I'm looking and my gut is screaming, go left, go left. So I go left. So I said, I think we should go left. He goes, are you sure? And I go, my gut says left. And then I hear a little voice in my head say, look up. And I look up and at the 10-foot level, there's a break and it's pointing left. And I tell my cousin, look up. And he looks up and he goes, what's that? I go, you know what that is? And he goes, no. I go, that's a Bigfoot marker. And he's pointing the way on the right trail. I said, so whenever we come to these forks in the road and there's no markers, we have to look for a Bigfoot marker. So we go left and we go 100 feet around the corner and we come up on the tree marker. I said, okay, we're going the right way. And we're hiking and we're hiking and we're hiking. And my cousin says to me, hey, cuz, I got a question for you. So what's up? He says, do we have elk in New York? And he's from the city, just moved up to the country. And I go, no, we don't have any elk in New York. Why would you ask that? He goes, turn around. And I turn around and I'm facing you, it's to my left. But when I turn around, it's to my right. There's a thing that kind of looks humanish, but it also kind of looks like a deer. And it's got this big rack of antlers. And my cousin goes, what the hell is that? And I go, that's a Wendigo. He goes, are they dangerous? And I go, yeah. He goes, does the Skinwalker still follow us? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay. Now the Wendigo has got blue eyes, diamond blue eyes. So we're walking. And I'm like, where the hell is this goddamn mining road? We've been hiking for miles going west. We have to come across this mine. I went over bridges and creeks and shit I've never seen before. It was like I was on a different planet. Finally, we get to the mining road. Hallelujah. Now I know where I'm going. We survived the Skinwalker and the Wendigo. We hike up to the sacred site. We get up to the sacred site. We set up the base camp, set up the cameras, start to break out the instruments. And my cousin says to me, he goes, this place has got a totally different feel tonight than it did the last time we were here. You can hear the tree frogs. You can hear the crickets. There's geese and ducks in the lake quacking, making all kinds of noise. And I even think on the way in, a couple of bullfrogs jumped into the lake as we were walking past them. So, or with our turtles, whatever it was, I'm not really sure. And the whole place has got a whole different atmosphere. The moon is shining bright. I mean, it's like a spotlight on the sacred site. And when I tell you, because we had to take a road in that I don't normally take, a 4-mile hike turned into like a 10-mile hike. Okay. And when I got there, I was tapped out, brother.
Oh, yeah, I
was
bet.
Drained. Oh, my God. Because once you get to the sacred, it's all uphill, like another mile. You know what I mean? So I was tapped out. But the moon was hitting me in the back, and it was radiating. And I felt this energy coming through me, man. And it was charging me up. And I was like, dude, I feel phenomenal. This is great. And he's like feeling the same thing. And we're talking about energy we're feeling and how everything looks different tonight. And all the cameras are working. And we do the same thing we did the last time. Orange glow sticks in front of us for ambient light. Different color glow sticks around us. EMF meters, digital voice recorders, and we call Cindy, and she says, let's see what she said. She said, okay. She said, now tonight's totally different. She said, if as long as you stay in the sacred site, it's bound. Nothing can get you. She said, if something does come into the sacred site, don't worry, it can't hurt you. Okay. I said, well, what are you seeing? She goes, I'm seeing directly in front of you, which was the Western Ridge. She said, at some point, you're going to see four sets of eyes on the ridge. It's going to be the Skinwalker has got the red eyes. The Wendigo's got the blue eyes. There's going to be a rake there. He's got green eyes. And there's going to be a dogman. He's got yellow eyes. And they're all working together to try to get you guys out of the sacred site. As long as you stay in that sacred site, you're bound. They can't do anything to you.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. Hey guys, I know nobody really wants to listen to ad breaks on podcasts, so instead of actually listening to those, why don't you go and check out some of the sponsors and affiliate links for the show instead. Number one, you guys can go and check out I Know Squatch for all of your squatchy gear needs, or you guys can check out Cryptoteology for all of your wearable cryptid favorites, or you guys can check out Snarly Yow for a fantastic natural line of beard oil, beard balm, beard shampoo, and body wash, all with an enticing woodsy aroma of smoky cedar with a hint of mint. And he also puts on a lot of fantastic events around the West Virginia area. So if you guys are in that area, make sure you guys go and check it out and see what kind of events he's putting on, because he definitely brings in an awesome group of people. And you guys can go and check out Big Ape Threads for all of their Bigfoot and cryptid related designs. And going into the affiliate links, you guys can always go and check out the newest sponsor to the show, Oregon-ite, specializing in scale model pyramid replicas, EMF protection devices, and much more. And if you guys find any pieces that you guys want to scoop for yourself, you guys can use code OMM for 10% off at checkout. And to all the paranormal investigators out there, you guys can go and check out the Chattergeist. It is the all-in-one paranormal investigating device. My absolute favorite. I use it every single time I go out. And if you guys have any technical questions about it, you guys can always go and hit up Barry over there in Dimension Devices on Instagram. He's the guy that programmed and developed it, so he'll be able to answer any of your guys' technical questions for it. And if you use the affiliate link, you guys will receive 10% off at checkout. And just a heads up, the company is based in the UK, so when you check it out on the website, it will be in pounds. But when you guys use PayPal, it will convert over. So don't think that you guys can't scoop one just because you don't live in the UK. And don't forget to check out the affiliate link for Sticker Mule to receive a $10 credit towards your first purchase. Over there, you can get a bunch of stickers printed, t-shirts, posters, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys are another podcast and you guys are looking for good quality stuff in order to print your logos on, Sticker Mule is definitely the place for you. And more information on all of those, of course, is available down in the show description. Let's quickly run through some commercials and get back into the show. And we are back, so let's hop right in. Was there a reason why they were trying to get you out of the site?
No, she just said, that they were working together. She said that the portal was wide open, and she said she had never ever experienced anything like this, where these 4 different cryptids would work together. Usually, the dog man, if he's working with other animals, it's other dog men, you know what I mean? And the rake is usually by itself, and so is the Skinwalker and the Wendigo. These 3 things are not things that work with other, in groups. Only the dog man. And she says, I don't know what's going on. The energy's off the charts tonight, and stay in the sacred site and you'll be okay. I was like, okay. And I'm doing my readings, and my readings are off the charts. I'm getting different readings for every little thing I do. I'm getting different readings. I'm showing my cousin, this is how the equipment is supposed to work when we're out here, And then I do my rituals, and the rituals change all the readings all over again. And he can't believe how like a shaman ritual can make all the readings change, or how a frequency ritual can change the readings that we just read, because we got the baseline, and then the same thing with the incense, the different incenses I use. And he's blown away by all of this stuff. And the ghost train comes by again that night, but only one time. And we hear the ghost train come by, and we're sitting there, and the glow sticks start to move, but not like they did the night that the Tricksters were there. Every time the glow stick moved, the EMF meter went off. Okay? Now, when the Tricksters were there and the glow sticks moved, the EMF meters never went off. So there was something else playing with the glow sticks that night. I don't know if it was Sasquatches, smaller Sasquatches, juveniles, or what, but whatever was touching the glow sticks were making the EMF meters go off. The cameras are working great. We're sitting there, and everything is going on, and I'm watching the eyes up on the ridge, and I got a laser pointer, and I'm pointing to each individual one. And I'm saying, okay, whichever one I point to, Shawn, you tell me what color it is. And I point to the Skinwalker and say red eyes, and we go through the whole list. I say, okay, he's seeing the same thing I'm seeing, but the psychic tells us tonight you guys are going to experience stuff that the other one is not going to experience. Like, okay, so we're going to experience things that the other one's not going to experience. Okay. So then she says, I just want to make you aware there's an alien there, and he's behind you about 90 feet, but he's in that shimmering state. You won't see him, but he's going to make himself known. But don't worry about him. He's not there to harm you. He's just there because of the energy. I'm like, okay. Now, maybe the alien being behind us is what's keeping these other creatures at bay. You know what I mean? I don't know. She didn't say that, but she said they were. And, when you got to understand, when she's telling you this stuff over the phone, my brain can't comprehend what she's saying. I start laughing immediately like she's on drugs, and my cousin is laughing hysterical, and I'm laughing hysterical, and she's like, okay, you guys want to laugh at me? Laugh at me. But you'll see at the end of the night, when it's all said and done, I'm right. Okay. So we're sitting there, and we're looking straight ahead, and I'm looking through the thermal imager, and I see 2 hands come out from behind the tree. Just 2 hands. And I'm looking at it, and it's up high, like the 8-foot level the hands are at, And I'm looking, and then I see what looks like a gorilla head peek out from the tree. And it goes back in, and then it peeks out on the other side, and it goes back in. And I'm like, Shawn, I don't know if I'm hallucinating, But I'm going to give you the thermal imager. I'm going to point at this tree with the laser pointer, and you tell me what you see. So I point the laser pointer up, and he goes, holy shit, cuz there's two humongous hands around that tree, like the size of baseball mitts. They're huge. I'm like, okay, just keep looking. Let me know if you see anything. And then he goes, holy shit, cuz a fucking gorilla just peeked out from behind the tree. You know, it looked one way, it went back in. I said, okay, you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. So we're looking at this now. Every fiber of my being wants to go over and look, but I got that Bearsquatch in the back of my head, right? Mm-hmm. But it looks different through the thermal than it did when we just had our regular lights on it. You know what I mean? We'd put our headlamps on and we'd look at the tree, and the hands would go back down, and nothing would come out. Nothing would come out. And we'd get up and we'd walk like to the left and to the right, not towards it, but just to try to flank it and see if we can get it in the headlamps. And there's nothing there. We don't see anything. So we go sit back down. I don't know where it went to. I never heard it leave. It just disappeared. It was gone. Okay. So we sit back down and we're sitting there. And again, I'm watching the eyes up on the hill. And she says at some point, the eyes are going to leave. They're going to go away. You're not even going to realize it, but they're going to leave. When they leave, it's safe for you to leave. Okay. In between all this action, I look up on the hill and all the eyes are gone. I'm like, okay, did they actually leave? Or did they come down off the ridge, you know? I don't know.
I'd be afraid of them tricking me too and just trying to temporarily kind of just back off for a second to see if you guys would leave.
Right. So I don't know, you know, I don't know. But now I'm seeing shadow figures at the bottom of the ridge, and they're walking back and forth. And there's 2 or 3 of them walking back and forth. And it's like they're trying to figure out a way to get into the sacred site, but the site is bound. And as I'm looking at the shadow figures, my cousin Sean starts screaming, holy shit. He goes, did you see the gnomes? I go, what gnomes? He goes, I just had 3 gnomes run around my chair. And I'm like, where? And I got all the cameras. I'm pointing cameras everywhere. I don't see any gnomes anywhere. But he's freaking out. He looked just like the little garden gnomes, and he's like freaking out. I've seen gnomes at this location, but not with him, you know? But on camera, he's seen them with his naked eyes. So we're sitting there, and he goes, they ran into that darkness. There's like one little area of darkness, almost looks like a cave, but there's no cave there. And we're looking into this little area of darkness. See, now I'm focusing to see if the gnomes come running out again. And something comes charging out of the darkness. It's small. It looks to me like either a baby Sasquatch or a chimpanzee. It's running on all 4s. It's flying. All you can see is a black blur coming at you. It's coming right at us. And we're sitting there like, what the fuck is this, right? But Cindy said, if something comes around you, don't worry, it can't harm you. It runs around me. It does a full circle around me. Then it does like a figure 8. It runs around Sean. And then it runs back into the darkness and disappears. But here's the kicker. If that's not crazy enough, there's nothing but leaves all over the ground. It made no fucking noise. Was it running above the leaves? How could something come charging out of the darkness, do a figure 8 around both of us, run back into the darkness, and not make a sound? It's mind-boggling.
I'm almost
We
wondering
are-
if it was the tricksters possibly messing with you guys, that first they looked like gnomes to get your focused attention into one area, and then they took the image of this creature to try to scare you guys off, because it almost seems like it's something like spiritual or like non-physical if it's not making any type of like noise or crunching or leaving any type of like footprints on the ground. Not footprints, but, you know, broken branches and leaves and stuff.
Yeah. No, it's just, we called Cindy. We called her. We said, okay, something just, Shawn seen gnomes. I didn't see him. She said, okay, there's definitely gnomes there. I feel the energy. But now she's feeling the residue of the gnomes, okay? She didn't feel them because she said the portal at this point is wide open because of the full moon. She said everything and anything can come in. She goes, but she didn't feel the energy of the gnomes before, but now she's feeling the residue. And I said, well, something else came through. And she said, was it a black blob? And I go, yeah. She goes, don't worry about it. It's nothing. She goes, it doesn't know. Again, she says, it's coming out of the portal. It doesn't know what humans are. It just ran around us to get a better look at us and then ran back into the portal. And it's already back on the other side, you know? And no, she wasn't feeling any tricksters. She didn't feel any, she didn't feel them going in. She didn't feel any residue at the end of the night either. So that goes, we settled down. Takes a few minutes to settle down from all of that, you know? We settled down. Now I start focusing on the shadow figures again. And again, 6 foot tall. There's at least 3 of them. They're walking back and forth. And to me, it feels like they're trying to figure out how to get into the sacred site. So I said to Shawn, let's go over and see what the shadow figures want. So we start walking over towards them. We're walking over. And they stop walking and they're looking at us. It's 3 of them looking at us and we're walking towards them. And as soon as we hit them with the floodlight, which we got about maybe 50 feet, I said, Shawn, let's hit them with the floodlight. They blinked out and they were gone. And they never came back. So, I forgot to mention one thing. Before, when we got up to go look at the shadow figures, right? The headlamp that I was wearing that night had a metal brace in the back where the batteries were. Now, normally I wear a smaller one. It's like a mountain climbing one. But that night I wanted this heavy duty one. And when I got up, when we both got up to go walk over to Tisha, the alien threw a rock from behind me and hit me in that metal bracket. It hit that bracket so hard that I said, what the fuck? Something just hit me. And I took the headlamp off and it dented the bracket.
Oh, wow.
So Shawn is like, fuck it, let's go get this alien, right? And I'm like, no, because we're shining the both headlamps into the area where the alien is. But I'm looking for that fucking the shimmer, right? We're looking for a shimmer. We're not seeing anything. All of a sudden, another rock comes out of the darkness. I don't know where it came from, but it hit my chair. I have a metal chair, and it actually rang. It went ding, you know. So Shawn is like, come on, cuz, let's go get this fucking thing, you know? And I'm like, no, stop. I have a funny feeling because we were going to the shadow figures, this thing is trying to distract us, to stop us. So we'll get back to this guy. Let's go do what we were supposed to, what we got up to do, you know? And then when we headed over to the shadow figures and we put our headlamps on, they blinked out and they never came back. So then we came back, we sat there, we called Cindy again, and we told her the alien just threw 2 rocks at us. One bounced off my headlamp and dented it, and the one bounced off my chair. And she said, okay, the alien is not there right now. He left. She said, so if you're going to leave, because that's the way we got to go out. You know what I mean? She's like, if you're going to leave, now's the time to do it. And I was like, okay. So we pack up our shit and we hike out right past where the alien was, somewhere behind us. She said not no further than 90 feet. We didn't see anything. We didn't feel anything. We didn't get any kind of vibes or anything like that. That there was something there. We hike out. We get down to the Appalachian Trail. We hike along the lake. No rocks being thrown at us tonight. Nothing like that. We get to the mining road. We hike out. We get down to the ranger station. I said, okay, if anything happens, let me handle it, you know. We walk through that invisible eye, and the dogs go off immediately. Now, we can see the light on and staying the ranger station, and when the car is parked in front, the dogs start barking. We walk another 5-6 feet. The sensor light goes on. We're under the sensor light. Now, the ranger comes out on the deck. What are you guys doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I tell him, oh, we were just on the Appalachian Trail. I was filming the eclipse and the full moon. And he goes, oh, yeah? I go, yeah. He goes, I said, yeah, we heard some coyotes coming our way, and they chased us off the Appalachian, and we ended up on the mining road, and we're just taking it out to our car. So the ranger comes down with the dogs, and he comes down. Let me see your gear. And I show him my full spectrum, and he goes, okay, I guess you guys really were filming, you know? I was like, yeah, we were just filming. We weren't hanging out at the lake, having a party or anything like that. We were on the Appalachian Trail. And he goes, okay, you guys can go. And he lets us go, and we hike up to our car, and we just like talk about all the shit that happened. And my cousin is like, I can't believe the 2 times I went out with you, the shit I experienced. He goes, I go, dude, people go 10 lifetimes and not experience any of that shit. It's crazy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was going to say in the first 2 times he goes out, he sees like a plethora of different things that, again, people spend a whole life waiting to be able to experience.
And it was so weird when, after we talked about the Skinwalker, and then when we talked about the Wendigo, I told him, I said, okay, listen, Shawn, I got to be honest with you. This is what Cindy said. So we have to make sure we make the right choices when we get to these forks in the road, you know? And he was like, dude, why didn't you tell me that beforehand? I was like, because I didn't want you coming out with subconscious fear. I wanted you coming out with all of your, whatchamacallit, with your excitement, looking forward to it, not being afraid of it. Because if you go out with negative energy, you attract negative things, you know? And he was like, okay, I got it. And then, we made it home all right and everything. But, there's never been a point in time in my life that I ever said, I want to see a Skinwalker or a Wendigo. I've seen a rake before, but I was in my car when I seen it. Never, ever did I ever think that I would ever see a Gugway or Bearsquatch or whatever the hell that was, or that black blob that came. It was moving so quick. It was just like you couldn't get it in focus, It was just a blur. It was just mind-boggling. I mean, both nights were absolutely mind-boggling, just incredible. And I'm so happy that I got out both nights like I wanted to. And I am so happy that the weather cooperated with me, because if it would have rained, I wouldn't have went out. I would have never took my equipment out and that shit, and it was just both nights were perfect, like weather-wise. It wasn't cold. I mean, I was out there with a down vest the whole night, And I tell you, I'll be honest with you, the night of the full moon, it was 2:00 in the morning, and I was amped. I had no desire to go home. You know what I mean? I could have stayed there till sunrise. That's how amped I was. But I forced myself to leave because I knew Shawn was getting tired, and I was like, let's get the hell out of here, but I was amped up, man. I was like charged,
I mean, on top of the fact that she made it seem like you only had a certain window to leave. So it's like, take your opportunity, because who knows what would have happened theoretically if you would have stayed, Yeah,
it was usually I'm the guy that never wants to leave. And I say, let's wait. I feel like there's more to come. But that night when she said, if you're going to leave, now's the time to leave. I said, okay, let's do it. Even though I was charged up, I didn't want to leave, and I could have stayed there till dawn. But she was like, now's the time. I said, okay, let's do it. And we did it, and we got out in one piece. Nothing happened to us either time, and It was just two amazing nights in a row that I'll probably never, ever experience again in my lifetime.
Unless you possibly go out there when there's some type of an eclipse, because it seems like maybe that's the thing that made it so that these weird events happen on both of these nights. And
yeah, let me tell you what happened afterwards. I forgot all about it.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. And we are back, so let's hop right in.
About a week later, right? A week later, Chris Reinhardt from Discover Sasquatch is meditating. Okay, it's a Saturday night, like 10 o'clock at night, and he's meditating. And in his meditation, he sees the sacred site, and he sees a giant beam of light come out of the circle and go straight up into the sky. Now, at exactly 10 o'clock, I heard what sound like a dump truck crashing into a brick wall. Okay, so I got up. And I went outside thinking there was some kind of accident, and it was nothing. It was crickets. And I was like, my wife heard it too. She was like, oh my God, we got to go outside. I'm going to probably have to call the cops or the fire department. And there's nothing. It's crickets. And so Chris calls me the next day and he says, I seen the sacred site 10 o'clock at night last night. I seen a big burst of light come out of the ground and go straight up. And I go, yeah, you know what? I heard a giant crash at exactly 10 o'clock. Cindy calls me and she says, what happened at the sacred site last night? And I go, what do you mean? She goes, at exactly 10 o'clock at my house, shook like I was having an earthquake. And she goes, I'm in Arkansas. We don't have earthquakes. She's like, what happened? So I told her, I said, Chris seen the light go up through the sky. I heard a crash, like something just blew up, and she felt an earthquake. And she said, okay, give me 10 minutes. I'll call you back. She calls me back 10 minutes later. She says, it was the alien leaving. She goes, the portal's closed. That's what it was. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I was like, because for some weird reason, me, Chris, and Cindy are connected. Chris never knew Cindy. She was my psychic, you know. She had no idea who Chris was. She called me up when she doesn't read anybody but the guys on the team. She called me up one time and she told me a white Sasquatch came to her, told her he was a king shaman, and she had to start teaching Chris Reinhardt about psychic abilities or something, you know. And Chris seen a white Sasquatch looking at him through the woods one time. And I guess it was all the same guy. You know what I mean?
And then you had the dream too. So there's another person seeing the same white Sasquatch.
Yeah. And I was the only one who got the name. You know what I mean? So that we're connected through this white Sasquatch who's, like 10 foot tall, 1,500 pounds. And the three of us are connected. And it's so weird because I'm in New York, he's in Connecticut, and she's in Arkansas. And yet we're all connected.
Dude, it's weird how that works out like that too, because it's like, I think it's the people. It's not about location, so to speak. Like,
right,
otherwise, why else would it extend that far? Because, I mean, there's a lot of that going on with a lot of research groups where three people will have the same thoughts, premonitions, whatever you want to say it, and they'll all be in different places. And, I mean, kind of getting into the whole weird concept with, like, the Holy Trinity, things like that, it seems like all these pairings, not even pairings, but groupings, seem to come in threes for some reason.
Wow, that's interesting. I never thought about that. Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought up the portal again, too, because I want to bring up something with this location. It seems like you have so much weird stuff happen there that, I mean, everybody kind of has their theories on portals, but we don't really know for sure. It's all just, theory realistically. But it seems to me, at least from my understanding of portals, that there might be portals that open up to particular realms or areas, and it's just like a single way back and forth through between these two center locations. But then on the other side, it seems like there's these certain ones where they're almost like a crossroads between a bunch of different realities. I don't know exactly how that might work on the other end. Maybe if you're kind of looking at it almost like a box reality, that where you're living in little different realities that are almost like stacked on top of each other like boxes. Sometimes a portal is just a hole through one wall into the other box, but sometimes you get lucky and the spot will be, say, like in the corner of the box, where when you're hitting that corner of the box, it's actually hitting multiple realities all at once, and it creates this like crossroad between multiple realities. It almost kind of seems like your location might be one of those crossroad ones where it empties in from a bunch of different realities instead of just one in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you 100%. And I think it's got to do with all the different things that are going on there. They used to mine uranium there. They have, again, we know there's ley lines that run through it. We know that there's quartz crystal veins that run through it. We know that there's underground aqueducts that run through it. You know what I mean? There's 4 different things right there that are all energy-based things. You know what I mean? So I think that's the reason why they set it up with these giant megalithic stones with hundreds of stones on top of them in a giant circle. It's up a mountain, and then on a high plateau. You would never see it from any of the trails below. You have to climb straight up the mountain to find it, and I just got lucky. And recently I had another experience where Alaric, the white Sasquatch, came to me, and he told me, like, I had made a deal with the Sasquatches when I found the location that I would never go over the Western Ridge into their realm. I mean, into their home range, you know? I would always stay here, and I would let them come to me. Well, recently I've had telepathic communication, whatever you want to call it, premonition, I don't know, that Alaric was up on the ridge, and he was waving me up, like, come on, it's time to come over. And I was like, no, I've made a deal. I can't go. And he was like, no, it's okay. You're with me. You can come over. I want to introduce you to the clan. So now I'm thinking, like Chris Reinhardt and I were thinking, maybe at some point this summer, we'll go over the ridge into the west, into their range, and put up a tent and sleep there for a weekend and see what happens, You
guys will have to keep me posted on that, because I'll definitely really want to hear about that one.
Yeah, that's the game plan going in and stuff. So, yeah, because I've never gone over that ridge, never. But Alaric has given me the high sign to come across, and he's a king shaman, and he's an elder, and you know what I mean. And he's connected to me, Chris and Cindy. If he says it's okay to go over, then I'm going over.
I mean, unrelated to the shaman Sasquatch, but just out of curiosity, have there been any like missing 411 cases, like somewhat in the vicinity of this area that you go into? Because it seems to be a common thing that happens in portal location areas. And I'm just curious if there has been any just straight up missing people possibly from this portal activity.
No, not that I know of. Not because the most popular thing that runs through there is the Appalachian Trail. And when I researched the trail originally, I wanted to make sure it was okay for us to be on it, because the park closes at dusk, but the trail is open 24/7, 365 days a year. So you can be on the trail, but you can't actually camp on the trail. You have to camp off the trail. So when I researched the Appalachian Trail, I didn't come across, I come across people who've ran into Sasquatches, pushing on their tents and stuff like that. A couple of different experienced hunters that have come across Sasquatches, but people who have seen UFOs siphoning water out of the lake, people who have seen balls of light come in and out of the lake, seen all kinds of stuff like that, but I haven't read anything about anybody missing from there.
I'm kind of curious if there will be anything that pops up at any point, and maybe somebody just hasn't been in like the right spot at the right time. Because I think a lot of like the missing 411 cases are somewhat of like a time slip possibly, or some type of like an interaction with something from another reality. But I feel like when you have a location like this, maybe the missing 411 cases are places that have been active for a while, and maybe they kind of go in periods of being active, and maybe your location is just one of the lucky ones that somebody hasn't disappeared yet because not enough people spend enough time in that particular area where the portal activity is.
Yeah, and we were there in 2015 where we did an investigation. Again, it was Hallows Eve. There was a full moon and a meteor shower, and we actually were sitting at a location we called the Meadow, which the Appalachian Trail comes right out on, and we heard a family, a mother and father and 2 children, coming down the Appalachian Trail, kicking rocks, laughing, giggling, murmuring. And here I am, me, my partner, and my cameraman, all of us big guys, and sitting in the dark with, 18-inch machetes and 10-inch survival knives. And we're hearing family coming down the Appalachian. It's 11 o'clock, something like that, 11:30. And I said, put the headlamps on so we don't scare the shit out of these people when they come out, And we put our headlamps on, and no one ever came out. And we went into the Appalachian Trail, and we searched, went in 100 yards to see if something happened to this family. And we couldn't find anybody. We called Cindy, and Cindy said, oh, no, that was a time-space continuum. We're in a time-space continuum. She said, those people won't be there till tomorrow.
Wasn't this the one that happened with Brian? So Brian was actually there for that one too?
Yeah, Brian was there for that one, yeah.
Yep, because I think he talked about it last time he was on the show too, because I always find it really interesting when I have you guys on and I end up getting two different perspectives of the same events, and it's like both of you guys are describe the same thing, so it's always really cool to have that consistency when I end up talking to both you guys, because it just adds more into the fact that you guys are actually experiencing this kind of stuff for all the people that maybe non-believers, because of how awesome of experiences you guys end up having.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, I know people are going to call bullshit and everything else, but you know what? I'm a big boy. I'm okay with that. You can call bullshit on me because you know what? If I didn't live it, I wouldn't believe it either. I'll be brutally honest. I'm a brutally honest guy. And if it would be hard for me to swallow if I heard people talking about it. And now when I do hear people talking about stuff that kind of hard to swallow, it makes me take a step back and say, think about the shit you've been through,
Mm-hmm.
and, and cut them some slack, but it is what it is. Yeah. I mean, that was the night we seen the gnomes too. Brian was the one who actually seen them with his, he was seeing little shadows moving from tree to tree. And when the cameraman Bill came over, because he was filming the meteor shower, when he came over with his camera, we had two, set up on it. We had the cameras, viewfinder, and then we had set up what do you call those things? Not a laptop, another image thing that you could see. And Brian and I were looking through the one they had rigged on there. Brian and Bill had rigged onto it. And Bill was looking through the regular viewfinder, and we all seen the one gnome come out of the darkness and run to one tree. And then 2 minutes later, another gnome came out and he ran to the tree. And I was sitting down. Brian was looking over my shoulder and he goes, did you just see what I see? And Bill was like giddy as a kid, a schoolgirl. He was like, holy crap. We got SD cards in both of these things, these monitors. We got SD cards. We got that shit. That's crazy. That's amazing. And, it was just mind boggling. Yeah. So, we all seen it. All three of us seen it with our naked, through the viewfinder. But Brian was seeing shadows moving. I was seeing shadows moving on the trees above us, but he was looking, I was looking south. He was looking north, and Bill was filming the meteor shower. So everybody was focused in a different direction. But that was mind boggling. Yeah. And when Cindy said time, space continuum, I was like, as crazy as that sounds, it just made sense. It was 11:30 at night on Halloween. Who the hell is walking through the woods with their children? Nobody in their right mind, especially on Halloween.
Somebody doing a ritual.
Right. You never know who you're going to run into, unless they're going to sacrifice the kids. You know what I mean? No, it was. And so the place is a place of high strangeness. My psychic says she's never experienced any place like that with the energy that place has. She said it's off the charts. And when I go there on nights like this, that, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, full moon, 1% of the moon, she said the energy is so overpowering that, it drains her for like a week.
Man, if I ever make it out to New York, man, you're going to have to take me to this location, because I've heard so much about it, man. I got to see it for myself one day.
Oh, absolutely. I'd definitely take you out. Just don't bail on me in the 11th hour like everybody else.
Oh, no, man. If I'm making the trip all the way to New York, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm coming out there.
Okay.
We will be right back after this brief commercial break, so stay tuned. And we are back, so let's hop right in.
So before we start wrapping up, man, and we'll definitely have to set something up after you do that other thing where you go over the ridge and everything. And just in general, man, every 6 months we should probably set something up because you always got something to end up talking about. So before we start wrapping up, I always like to do words of wisdom, as you've done the last few times you've been on the show. So if there's any words of wisdom that you could possibly give to other investigators or just the listeners out there, what might your words of wisdom be?
Be careful what you wish for.
That's some pretty good words of wisdom. Especially just even subconsciously wishing for things, because you never know what you might end up manifesting, especially when you're going out and you're investigating this type of stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I mean, like I said, my cousin and we've been doing this haunted hotel up in the Catskill Mountains the last 3 months. We've been up there the last 3 months in a row, and I gotta send you a photograph of what we got in the scribing mirror. Oh my God, it's just insane.
Well, we'll have to hit that one next time for sure, too.
Okay, yeah.
And I mean, just to make a really funny scenario or metaphor for what you were saying, too, Ghostbusters at the very end with the Stay Puft guy wasn't thinking about it directly, but was thinking about it subconsciously. And what ended up happening, they ended up manifesting the Stay Puft guy. So be careful what you wish for.
Absolutely.
And if anybody wanted to come and find any of your research, get a hold of you, possibly even share some encounter stories, any of that, where can people come and find you on the internet, man?
You can find me on Facebook at the Bronxville Paranormal Society, or just look up Al Santariga. I'm easy. I'm very accessible. If you shoot me a message or private message me on Facebook Messengers, I'll get back to you. Get back to everybody. I don't leave anybody hanging, So.
Well, I appreciate you making the time to come on again today, man. Really, really, again, looking forward to next time. And again, we'll have to set something up every couple months and be able to stay in contact.
Okay, absolutely.
If you're interested in being a guest on the show, having me as a guest on your show, sponsoring the show, or getting a hold of me for any reason whatsoever, you guys can get a hold of me through email, which is increaseourrealitypodcast@outlook.com, or through social media, Instagram or Facebook. But Instagram is the one that I am more active on, but Facebook is also definitely a viable option. Or you guys can go to the link tree and fill the submission form. Should be all the way up at the top. And the other submission form is for reporting an encounter. So if you guys have any of those, don't forget to do that too. And if anybody is interested in podcast or audiobook production services, you guys can shoot me a message through Open Minds Media, which of course is also a link that's available on that link tree. Just like every single thing that I mentioned today is all available on the link tree. And with that, hope you guys enjoyed the conversation, and I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.